Let's wind the clocks back a year. These cops and lawyers wouldn't dare cross any of you. I mean, what happened? Did your balls drop off?
Shut up and sit down, you big bald fuck.
Well, I'm recording now.
Okay.
Welcome. Hello and welcome to the podcast. I have been practicing my Joker impression all week. I've got to admit that it hurts my throat, and I'm done. Oh.
I mean, it wasn't horrible.
It wasn't horrible. I'm nervous, too.
I've heard worse. Wait till I try.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, hi, Joseph. It's your friends Joseph and Lucas here, and we have Galacticriminal. You may have seen him react to some metal videos in your past, and currently because he uploads all the time, and it's fucking awesome.
Hello, kitties.
God damn it! God damn it! I've been practicing all week, and you can just bust it out like fucking nothing. So, I had a question. You had mentioned something about being the Joker's voice in the Bat Metal videos, and you were super excited about it. And then the Bat Metal videos come out, and it's just not there.
Oh, that's because in the video, I believe where I mentioned that, it's because I did the Joker voice in the it was a promotional video they did beforehand. It was like a trailer for the Bat Metal Forever.
Right. Oh, okay. So your voice is actually in the promo.
Yeah, it's called Bat Update, Bat Metal Forever, I think.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I'm about to look that up.
They have like a whole they animated like their version of Joker, like saying the words that I'm saying toward the end and stuff, and yeah, it was pretty funny. I thought when they had originally asked me to be in the next video, because that's all they said, the next video. It was like a year and a half later. They were like, okay, we're ready for you, and it ended up being the promo for it. I'm still like, happy as fucking tits that they wanted me for that. But I thought, oh, okay, I thought it was going to be in the official video, but again, I'm like, I don't have a recording studio or anything, so that would have been difficult to do over the internet. I would have to think.
Yeah, it's always we talk about it all the time how amazing it is, or amazing of a time that we live in, because anybody with a computer and a microphone and a camera and maybe even a little bit of know-how can just make all this cool shit. And I wonder often how those Bat Metal videos are made. Like, how do they do that? Do they do it on the computer? Do they hand draw it out? Are they just normal guys like us? I don't know.
They, from what I understand, in some other videos that I've seen, they like when they asked me to do it, they show me like a clip of them actually like rendering it. So they're doing it on the computer. I believe they're hand drawing, but on like the tablet, drawing systems or whatever. And I think it's actually like it's two guys, but I think they actually have a bit of a team, like for audio and everything. But I think it's a pretty small group.
That's so cool. Did you? That was another cool little project that I saw, that Star Wars Scene 38 reimagined, and of course I watched your reaction to that. And dude, that was, from what I understand, that's like 4 or 5 guys, and they just do it on their computer, and they've got the green screens and stuff, but it's just all amateurs. And I always imagine what those guys could do if they actually worked for Disney, if they had that kind of budget to work with, because that thing was so cool. That needed to be in the actual movie.
Yeah, honestly, I thought so too. A lot of people in the comments didn't. They're like, "Oh, that just fucking ruins it," and I'm like, yeah, maybe it would have ruined it, in your mind, because you remember it a certain way, and it should always be that way. But the thought of like even just like the shitty prequels and how awesome like Obi-Wan was, with the lightsaber and everything, and then seeing like the original movies, the fight itself, as important as it was, like narratively, would have been just that much more important and that much cooler if had it been done the way that this reimagined had done it. I felt it was more impactful, and especially after having seen the prequels and loving the originals for so long, I felt like emotional after watching that shit.
I've been a huge Star Wars fan my whole life, and I know what you're saying, because that's how I always saw Darth Vader, and he was never really portrayed that way unless it was in some little fan project or something. We got a glimpse of it in Rogue One, but it just wasn't the same as that.
Yeah, honestly, from things that I've heard from like some, I say quote unquote experts from Star Wars, is that it's the kind of thing that they would have liked to do back then, but they were limited obviously by the technology of lightsabers, and everything was just so incredibly hard to do and expensive that they had to kind of limit themselves in that regard. Which honestly, in the same light, kind of again made that fight more impactful, is like the conversation between, you know, Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, you know. So like it does have its impact, but it would have been cooler to have the flashy lightsaber stuff. It kind of like harkens back to like Jaws, and how it was essentially going to be, Spielberg's going to make it like a creature feature. They're going to be showing this shark all the time in the movie. They didn't, because it kept breaking down, and it ended up becoming a better movie because of that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it was kind of in that regard. But yeah, that reimagining was insane. I hope they do more of that.
Yeah, I loved it so much. Now I remember the first video I saw of yours. It was the reaction to The Last Jedi, and your reaction to that is so awesome, because you're like, okay, the part where the rocks start floating up when Rey has her hand on the ground, your eyes go all buggy, and then after that, the preview or the trailer progresses, and you start doing this thing where you're bouncing back and forward in your seat and you can't control your laughter. And I'm like, this is so cool, because this is exactly the same reaction that I had.
I'm just so fucking stoked when it comes to stuff that, like, I'm not like a visceral fan of like incredibly large amount of things, but there are things that I do like fanboy over. Obviously, Star Wars and, you know, like some Batman stuff being one of those, like a few of those things. So yeah, I freak out as soon as I find out that there's going to be a new trailer, and especially for me, I work night shift, so a lot of the time that shit uploads in the middle of the night for me. And so I get to like get home in the morning, I can do my reaction right away and get that shit out of, like, without spoilers or anything like that. Anything else, I mean, I don't care about spoilers and whatever, but yeah, Star Wars for me, it's like right up there. So yeah, getting to see any reaction I do to like the Star Wars trailers, and that is pretty much like that, because I'm spending my whole night at work building in my head as to what this is going to be. You know, maybe like what I'll say for an intro or something like that, and then actually getting to finally sit down and see the thing, even though it's only like a 2.5 minutes long or whatever. I'm just excited to get the intro over with and hit play, you know. So then by the time I'm actually watching the video and reacting to it, my hype is just 100% up.
Yeah, and your reaction to that one in particular just kind of made me realize, wow, I'm excited for this movie too. Oh my god! And it's okay to be excited about it, because other people are this excited about it too.
Well, yeah, honestly, that's one of the major reasons why reactions ended up becoming what my channel was about, because I loved watching those. I loved watching reaction videos. That was something that was a staple of mine. I had like a handful of channels I would watch every single day. They'd upload every day, and I loved it. I was like, I could probably do that shit, you know? So I went for it. Just like, yeah, I love that excitement of getting to see people react to something. You know something's coming up. If it's a song or it's a video, you know something's coming up, and you want to see. It's like showing something to your friend, like when they're right beside you, and you hold your phone, like, check out this video, and you hold it up. You want to see their reaction, and hoping it's like the same as yours.
Well, all this talk about the new Star Wars movies and everything, it just reminds me of, I think, one of the reasons why you and I wanted to do this in the first place, and that was because you and I would argue for about an hour on the phone about how I thought they could have done things differently in episode 7 and 8. I think
it was really mainly episode 8, I would think. That's what we had. We had our serious arguments about that one.
Yeah, and arguments might make it sound like we really were combative about it, but it was a good, healthy debate. We've known each other for too long to really argue about shit anymore. But whenever I'm right about something and he's off base or whatever, I have to like talk down to him just a little bit. That doesn't come out too much, but
it comes out pretty often. You know,
yeah.
You're talking down to me. I'm just gonna put that out there.
I don't know if I had a big hang up. I don't know when it kicked in, when I initially thought about it, but I think it was when you were defending the decision for Luke to be force projecting himself in his confrontation with Kylo Ren. Mm-hmm. on whatever planet that was. I want to call it the red dust planet, because once you kick up the shit, isn't that what it was? It was like salt or whatever, but you kick it up and it was all red underneath. It's been a while, because I only watched it the one time and I was like,
Yeah, you know, you're right.
Well,
And my whole position on Luke's decision is that the way Luke went out was the most perfect way for a Jedi to cease to exist. It was passive. He's not and everybody seemed to want Luke to go and kick the shit out of Kylo Ren. He probably could have, but that's not what he was supposed to do. He's a Jedi. He's not an assassin.
Well, and I'm not arguing for him to come down as some sort of Deus Ex Machina and kick the shit out of Kylo Ren. What I thought was happening, the whole interaction I thought was awesome. But when I found out that wasn't him actually standing there withstanding that barrage from those walkers, that it was just his projection, I was like, well, that kind of takes away from this badassness that everybody thought Luke was, or at least had. Just the way he was postured to develop and grow as the Jedi at the end of the original trilogy. You kind of wonder, like, man, what heights could Luke reach? And then you're kind of let down, I think. I was let down. I think right off the bat, when he receives the lightsaber from Rey and he just chucks it over his shoulder, I was like, okay, so we're just going to be dismissive of the legacy of this franchise and of the character. I don't know. I thought he was postured to be something bigger than what he ended up being. And I just thought it would have been, I don't know, more satisfying if at the end of all that, he allowed himself to get cut down the way Obi-Wan did against Vader. If that was actually him facing off against Kylo Ren and not just his projection to buy time for Leia and the Resistance to escape.
But you also got to think about it. He bought time the exact same, maybe not the same way, but what he did essentially was the same idea. He bought time for the new young heroes to escape. That's the same thing Obi-Wan did.
And I want to say at no risk of bodily injury, but I don't know if I don't know. Did all that exert so much force from him that he just had nothing left and he died? Or did he just be like, all right, I'm done, and he just ejected the disc and died? I don't understand.
I think it's a little bit of both. There was nothing left for him to do. He'd been cut off from the Force for so long, so it probably had a huge toll on his body being cut off for so long.
I also think that goes against his character, too, because of how close he made it sound like he was to Leia and the Han and everything. Like, where were you when that dude got killed? I know you felt it. You're Luke freaking Skywalker, right? And I think that was the impression everybody had. They were like, I thought that was Luke. And what they thought Luke was, they didn't see that in episode 8. I don't know. I'm not entirely too sure what direction they're going with the new trilogy.
I'll definitely admit that when he threw that lightsaber over his shoulder, it seemed like a big fuck you to the original or to the previous movie.
I think everybody was saying fuck you to the original movie because they literally were like, it's another Death Star. And they're like, yeah, but it's bigger. And everybody's like, ooh, so that's what this is. It's a New Hope, but in the 21st century.
You know what? I am still a little kid when it comes to Star Wars, and I'm always going to be excited about it, and I'm always going to be biased, and it's always going to be awesome no matter which movie it is. Every Star Wars movie is great to me. I don't care.
So now, I don't know. Are you guys gamers at all?
Oh, yes. To a fault, man. Okay, I stopped a controller out of existence the other weekend playing Ninja fucking Gaiden.
So I have reference you probably get, of Half-Life.
Yes.
And that's a little out of my that escapes me.
I'll say like it's a reference I'll pull as to like the same idea I feel as it comes to like to Star Wars is that people were like such incredibly like eccentric fans of the Half-Life series and like whether they liked it or hated like the way that it ended or whatever, people have been clamoring at the fucking every little bit of tidbit of information that comes out as to there might be another game coming out, and the developers straight up came out and said, we're not going to bother making this game because there's no possible way we could ever come up with something to satiate the fandom and the love of the originals.
That's probably true.
So if we came out with something, we'd rather not do it at all, rather than make something and then have people hate us for it forever. And I feel like that's kind of like the tiptoes that they were taking with Disney is to taking on this franchise 30 fucking years later as to how can we tiptoe into this and make it good enough that like even like hardcore Star Wars fans can get to the end of one of these movies and just be like, that was okay. You know, at least say it was okay and not come out of it like the prequels and being like, well, what the fuck was that?
Right.
Now, I have kind of a theory as to like the whole thing with the Last Jedi, and I actually really enjoyed the movie. I liked it much more, like you know, upon further watches. Aside from like music being I hear it the first time, I know if I like it or not. Movies are a little bit different, and when it comes to the Last Jedi, I kind of feel like the whole idea of him, you know, I feel like it's more obvious to some people than others of Luke being on the island for as long as he was, kind of secluded from everyone, like Yoda was, like Yoda was. So he got a little bit crazy. He's a little nuts. And you can see that. He's just like, takes the lightsaber. He's like, now fuck it. Flings it over his shoulder. And it's like the whole like thing with fishing and just like his whole personality is to like, he's pretty much given up, you know? So like, I feel like that whole like, projecting himself across the universe was his just like you said, like last hurrah. And it took such a toll on him that it just basically did exactly again, like y'all said is, with Obi-Wan, that was his like final thing, like, you know, giving everyone enough time to escape. And I also feel like the projection thing and the fact that he made himself look like he did at the end of the original trilogy was kind of another hurrah to the fans, as to give them that idea of the Jedi that they would have wanted to see, like if they had made a movie right after the original trilogy. It's like this is that cool moment to kind of give, you know, like the hyper fans an idea of like the scope of what he could have been, and you know, and have a good send off to him as well. I actually really enjoyed that movie. I know it's kind of polarizing for those, but again, anything new from Star Wars, I love it, and I think the story writing is pretty decent. Some character flaws here and there, like Kylo Ren. I mean, even as a character, he would have been really cool if they didn't reveal his face in the first movie.
Yeah.
You know, if they had kept him as like the mysterious Vader type, maybe he doesn't say too much, you know, but then they take off his helmet. He's got this big doofy haircut on. I mean, like, he's got this tight little helmet on. Why didn't they at least give Adam Driver a haircut, you know?
Yeah.
But I think they were trying to make him as more of like a young Luke character, as to being, you know, kind of whiny, you know, to start off at least, but taking it to like the side of being the villain. I don't know. I feel like there's some interesting stuff had there. Yeah, it's got a lot of problems, but I still enjoy them.
Yeah, I had a theory when before the first new movie. I remember before it came out, we didn't know what Kylo Ren looked like under that mask, and it's almost like they wanted us to look at that character the way the characters in the movie were. And what I mean by that is the First Order had made him out to be like this super Sith badass, stopping lasers and shit in midair and being intimidating as hell. But once his mask came off, you realize this guy really ain't shit. And it's like the First Order needed him to be this intimidating figure. They didn't really need him to be a fighter because there weren't no Jedi to oppose him. And then once Rey came around, holy shit, we got to train this guy. I thought it was kind of cool how they did that.
I think I kind of feel, I think story-wise, and I didn't hear this anywhere, it's just something that I thought of, is them taking his mask off is in order to, like, show him emoting more, because they wanted to show, you know, the struggle that he has between the light side and the dark side, and with the mask on, it would have taken away from that idea. I also feel like, again, they should have kept him being a badass through the entire first movie and saved like the whole like struggle for the second movie. Now, but I've also heard that they wanted this trilogy to be obviously the send-off for the original characters. So the first movie being Han's movie, the second movie being Luke's, and the third being Leia's, to like send off these three characters.
It's still so hard for me to believe that they have extra footage of Carrie Fisher for the new movie. I mean, she died coming up on 4 years ago now? Maybe not quite that long, but I mean, she's still going to be in another movie this long after her death. I don't think that's ever been a thing ever in the history of movies.
Well, that whole like kind of deep faking thing they've been doing is become more and more prevalent. I think Disney, if anyone, is going to have the budget behind themselves in that technology to be able to use whatever footage they did film, because I believe they filmed the movies like back to back, if I'm not mistaken. So she did a lot. What I've heard is she did a lot of what they needed to film for that movie, and I think they're going to fill everything else out with that kind of weird looking CG deepfake stuff. I'm not certain on that, but yeah, I don't know. I really kind of just speculate. I don't go in. I'm not as big enough of a fan to like dig into like all the forums and shit and trying to find out exactly what everyone's saying. I just kind of wait for the thing to come out and see it. But yeah, that's really all I heard.
I think the most I ever did for a movie that was coming out was get on 4chan when the Avengers Age of Ultron trailer leaked out, and it was like a it's like a shitty 360p resolution. I don't know how whoever got it, but it forced Marvel to like come out with it 12 hours later. Like, well, yeah, it's out there now, so if you want to watch that shit in HD, here it is, And I think. I don't know. I was pretty geared up because of that Age of Ultron. I thought the trailer like made it look like it was going to be something awesome, and it wasn't. And the thing about Episode 7 was kind of the same. And I was going to say this earlier, and Dietrich, you kind of touched on it a little bit there, man. The first teaser for Episode 7, where it showed Kylo Ren in the snowy woods, and he friggin' ignited the lightsaber, and everybody's just like, "What the fuck is that thing?" That added so many layers of mystery to his character. And it was just taken away, just like that, as soon as he took his stupid freaking helmet off. And just like you said, it's like, oh, I went to high school with that guy. Everybody was like, everybody saw that guy, and they're like, oh, I fucking know this guy.
Yeah, that guy. I know that guy. He's got a fucking massive record collection, and he wears fucking coveralls all the time, and fucking has a man bun. It's a hipster guy.
All of his jackets are made of hemp. I know that fucking guy. Yeah, it sucked the mystery out, man, faster than anything. And they had it like in the first scene where they're terrorizing that little village and they're interrogating people to find the droid. And you stop that laser blast in midair, and I was like, that's never happened before. And he held it there while he was doing other things, like he was multitasking, but he had like 5 arms, and one of his arms was like holding his cup. And he was like trying not to spill it while he was doing all these other things. And I was like, damn, that's pretty freaking cool. And then he takes his helmet off, and you're just like, oh, fuck, that's my dumb shit brother.
Yeah, honestly, I thought before the casting came out as to who was going to be who, and even honestly before I saw his performance, I was thinking the casting, still to this day, I think the casting would have been better, and I'm not going to remember the fucking guy's name, but there was a video game called Star Wars The Force Unleashed.
Yeah,
Sam Witwer.
That's a guy. If they had cast that guy as Kylo Ren, I would have bought everything in both of those movies 100 times more. He just has more of an intimidating, I feel, like stature to him instead of like the giant fucking barrel chest of Driver. I like that idea of him being like a similar size and build and just kind of look to like a young Luke Skywalker, but. I don't know. Just that's in my head. I had like this character, Starkiller from this game, was such a cool character.
I really love what they were trying to do with those games. Man.
Yeah, I thought Force Unleashed was the shit.
I mean, they were like boxed in just like arena battle things, but again, it was something new from Star Wars, and it was still kind of satisfying to play.
Yeah,
that casting I just think could have been done better.
Yeah, the first level of that game where you're Vader and there's an achievement I think where you have to kill like 1,000 Wookiees on Kashyyyk, and I fucking did that shit because I didn't want to not be Darth Vader anymore. It was so much fun.
I'm Darth Vader. Of course I'm going to kill some fucking Wookiees.
Yeah, I'm going to kill a fucking whole legion of them. I don't give a shit. I'll force choke their asses, throw them into a couple of their friends, kill 4 for the price of 1. We're good. Yeah, that shit was fun.
Yeah. Definitely.
I'm really hoping one of these days that we get a movie based on a Sith Lord. Like the Darth Bane books. I don't know if either of you guys have ever read those, but those are some cool fucking Star Wars stories, and they're about a villain. And Darth Bane was a badass. And I think when Force Awakens came out, I had probably just finished the Darth Bane books, and I'm like, oh, cool. A new Sith Lord. And then we get that. I'm like, oh, well, okay. Maybe one of these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about books and stuff like that. That's where, for me, as like for fandom, is where I kind of I kind of drop off. I don't go into like the extended universe stuff. I've not even really watched the cartoon. I forget what it's called now.
The Clone Wars.
Yeah, Clone Wars. That stuff all supposed to be canon, and that I've never watched it.
And I need to make a change because I haven't watched that stuff either. And apparently, it's all really good.
Yeah,
especially if you're a huge Star Wars fan. And what's the other one? Rebels. I started it. It's obviously a kid show, but it's pretty cool.
I kind of heard the same thing, but I'm just like, I'm so far behind on it. Every time I go to think about watching it, I'm like, do I have the time really to sit here and fucking and just like plow through this entire thing? I don't know.
And we've actually just received word about the Mandalorian trailer. I watched it. I mean, it looks like another Star Wars movie. So,
is it a movie or is it a show?
I think it's gonna be a I think it's going to be a movie, but it'll be on the Disney Plus streaming service.
Yeah, that's what I saw too. It says we'll be streaming on Disney Plus, so I wasn't sure what that was, and I'm not too sure about that whole Disney Plus thing. We're gonna have to see how that whole fucking thing plays out. Because if it ends up being like the actual cool Star Wars stuff comes out like Game of Thrones, where it's like one cool show per year or one season of a show per year, there's no way I'm fucking buying this streaming app, paying as much or more per month for it just to get a hold of that stuff. Maybe hopefully they'll sell all that shit on physical, and I'll just wait till it's over to watch it. But that sucks, I kind of wish they weren't doing that.
It's getting a little frustrating with all these streaming services, but it looks like this Disney one might actually be kind of promising because they're going to have all the Marvel stuff on there too. And, they're doing shows for that. But yeah, like I hope they just drop it all at once. Not one episode per week. Like sometimes Hulu does that. Like as far as streaming services go, man, Netflix, there's so much shit to watch on Netflix now. You could start watching right now and not even come close till the end of your life. It's crazy, man. And because I've got Hulu and Netflix, if I end up looking at this Disney Plus thing, I've also been considering the DC one. It's just like, spending more over time than actual going out and buying new DVDs, even though nobody does that anymore.
Everyone except for me.
Yeah, right. I don't mind physical media too much. I don't. I just have to have it. If I really want to support whatever it is, whether it's a band or if it's a movie franchise or something, I'll buy the freaking Blu-ray. I don't give a shit.
Well, it's also a good thing to do with bands like Insomnium or whatever. They don't get the recognition they should be getting.
No, they don't.
It's definitely a good thing to do to buy the physical media for them.
I need to get the rest of their vinyls. I only have like the first 4.
Now, do you have a vinyl player?
I do, but it's like, just like a crappy little thing.
So why buy vinyls if you can't listen to them?
Well, I have them hanging up on my wall.
I don't really get into the vinyl thing. I buy physical media for CDs. I rip them and then I have them on my phone. Honestly, it's kind of a pain in the ass. A lot of the bands that I end up checking out and want to get albums from, they only sell physical copies. Unless I want to get some merch from a band, I don't want to buy the physical thing. I want to just download off the Bandcamp or off their website or whatever. In that regard, I like physical stuff, and I just got like the new Shadow of Intent because I wanted to get with a hat and a shirt and stuff like that. So I don't really get into the whole vinyl thing. I got one vinyl from Sitecore, and it just sits there in the background, wrapped still. So,
man, I saw on eBay the other day there was a signed copy of the whole band from Mars to Sirius by Gojira, and I should have bought the fucking thing. I don't know why I didn't buy it. And I have like the perfect spot in my little man cave to put it too. But anyway, you've done a lot of metal reaction videos. And we've never seen anything from you reacting to Gojira. And I was wondering if you were a fan of them or if you'd even heard of them.
Oh, yeah, buddy. I did a reaction to their song Stranded off, I believe, their last album.
Really? I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I think I put it out like right after it came out, essentially. I can't remember exactly, but a friend of mine that I work with, he was talking about that band forever. And he's like, you got to check them out, And I hadn't. And so I checked out that video, and I immediately went ahead and got like 5 of their albums.
Yeah,
I've been listening to that shit ever since. It's fucking unbelievable. But the newest one for me is just like in their entire discography. People hate me for this. Is that of their music I've listened to is the new album's my favorite.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. The new album is good. I'd say Flying, or I'd say
Mars is
Mars to Sirius was my favorite, but they're all good.
Yeah, they're like, I feel like very progressive, like more so early on, and like almost like a Opeth kind of thing, and I enjoy that stuff. But like a lot of the long-winded riffing and stuff like that is not always my taste. I say in videos all the time is I like, snap, 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 go, go, changes, stuff that keeps me interested. So like for a sit down and listen kind of band, that's the absolute go-to for me. So you want to actually listen like to all like the intricacies of their music and that, and the vocals and everything. But if I'm just going for like I'm going for fucking like a walk or something like that, or just going somewhere listening to music, it's not something I usually go to. I go for like the more fun, catchy kind of stuff.
I was fortunate enough to see Gojira and Opeth at the same concert a few years ago. And I'm telling you what, both of them live, they're just incredible. Best show I ever saw in my life. Even though I would say Gojira was better, but I think Opeth, they might be getting a little tired.
I could see that absolutely being a fact. Is seeing a band live. That's something I like to say all the time too. Is that you don't really know how good a band is until you've seen them live, and that's something that you come to know from listening to as much music as someone like you guys or myself do. Like I talked about in the earlier days of doing the channel. It's like my whole starting up is to listening to music was live shows, is my local scene, which a lot of people obviously do. But that was like almost all of what I listened to. So like especially like a lot of the bigger bands that are like that people say like, oh, you've never heard of these guys before. How could you have not listened to these guys before? As to metal reactions, especially early on, it's like I just didn't have access to that stuff for the most part. There wasn't YouTube. There wasn't they weren't on like the radio or anything like that. I had to hear about them from a friend or whatever. And most of the people that I surrounded myself with anyway in my scene were listening to like ska and punk and some hardcore, maybe a bit of thrash, but that was again mostly local stuff. You go through my whole CD collection to date, and most people wouldn't be able to recognize most of the bands that are in there. That sounds a little hipsterish, but it's honest. Like if I was to tell you a band about like the Planet Smashers or High Five Drive, something like that, you'd be like, well, I don't know who they are. Well, like I'd be like, how do you not know who they are?
And there's so much out there now too. I mean, even these days, I feel like if you were just now getting into metal, you wouldn't even know where to start. And I mean, there's so many different bands. Like one of the ones you did a reaction to, Archspire. I would have never heard of them if it weren't for your channel, and I fucking love that band.
That was a fun reaction. I definitely enjoyed that song, and I actually watched my own video back a couple of times after that, just obviously to re-listen to the song. But I didn't end up getting into them. I listened to some more of their stuff, and it was fun for a reaction for me, but it was a little too chaotic. If that makes any
they are very chaotic.
Sense. Just from it was just a few more tracks of theirs that I listened to just to see, is this band just something that I want to delve into, and a lot of the time I don't. Just like, oh yeah, that was cool, but I'm not going to really dig into them. We got a certain amount of time and a certain amount of money that, you don't want to, I don't want to buy every single album. I want to buy every album from a band that I love for reaction, but there's just not enough time, I guess. We got to kind of prioritize.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask, because you're talking about how some bands can be just too much, and I can relate to that because my introduction, I guess, to the genre, because before this I was listening to fucking radio-friendly alt rock, you might want to call it. I guess I don't know, fucking Matchbox 20, where the hell else was playing around 2001, 2002. Until Volume 3, The Subliminal Verses came out by Slipknot. I had a Schmidt, Lucas, you might remember him. He was this dude I went to school with. One of my earliest friends at this new high school I went to. He was all about Slipknot. And when I first went to his house, he had Slipknot posters on his wall. And I was like, where the fuck am I? And I'm kind of scared. I think I might go home. I went to a Catholic school from K to 8. So this is
I cannot picture you in a Catholic school.
Oh my God, it was awful. It was as awful as you could probably imagine. And I just seeing the poster with all these guys and the orange jumpsuits and the masks and everything, I was like, what the fuck is this? But he talked him up, and when Volume 3 came out, I was like, you know what? Pick me up a copy when you go get yours. And I listened to it, and I fucking loved it. I absolutely loved it. Maybe it's because it's the first one that it's my favorite out of all of them, even though like Iowa is a very close second. That's kind of what started it for me, and then ever since then, I've tried branching out, going in different ways. And I used to get on Amazon back before YouTube really blew up to see like, hey, if I was going to buy this album, what do other people look at when they're looking at this album? You go to the suggestions or whatever, and I would listen to previews, and I'm just like, oh my god, that's just too fucking much. And I want to say that Gojira was kind of like that for me in the beginning. And Lucas will say this all the time, how when he first told me he was listening to, he was like, dude, you ever heard of Gojira? And I was like, yeah, it's fucking sludge metal. That's like this slow...
You're into sludge metal now? And I'm like, what the fuck is sludge metal?
Like
just listen to it.
That's like this slow, chuggy shit. And at the time, I was into Scar Symmetry. I still am into Scar Symmetry. And I'm into like the Nordic metal where the songs are like 8 minutes long. And the beats per minute are a little bit faster. But I never really gave Gojira the shot because I thought they were just different or whatever. And then I don't know what I listened to first, but now, yeah, I'm with him. They're fucking great. So I'm curious,
the seed had been planted. This is by no means saying Slipknot isn't awesome, because they are, but Slipknot is gateway metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, people aren't too happy with my opinion of Slipknot, or so it seems. But yeah, I listen to a lot of the same kind of stuff. I have kind of the same story as you just said, fucking growing up in Catholic school, right up through the middle of high school. Before I switched over.
Am I the only heathen here?
My parents tossed me into that shit, man. So like, my
and look how you turned out.
Yeah, right. It's what I was listening to, like just the stuff that was kind of popular, like a lot of the new metal, Korn and like Limp Bizkit and shit like
Disturbed.
that, and Disturbed, yeah, and then Slipknot jumped in there, and but yeah, I didn't really go in that direction of metal. If anything, I went more toward direction of hip hop, and then into like ska and punk and shit like that. So I get that where you're coming from there. Just it's so strange to be thinking about like the taste that I had in music, even back then, even to the point of just before I started my channel up until now, is unbelievable to me. I mean, again, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was saying, it's like look at the stuff that you're listening to now. He says, in your early videos, dude, you're talking about don't scream so much, use it as an accent,
Yeah.
And I still kind of agree with that to this day. I kind of feel like, building up to the heavier like vocals and stuff like that is more important than just being heavy the entire time. But I enjoy the really heavy stuff all the time as well. So it's kind of like shifted for me. So like, man, 3 years ago, you would never heard me listening to a band like fucking A Shadow of Intent to a degree, even Humanity's Last Breath. I would have heard that stuff and been like, what is this? No fucking way. No fucking way. So I don't know. It's interesting how opinions can change over time, and taste in music can change over time as well.
I think metal has a way of doing that, just exposing you to different shit. Because like, what's the song Master of Puppets? Shit. What's the band name? Master of Puppets. I'm sorry.
You fucking
no. Okay, let me try this again. Puppet Master, not Master of Puppets. I'm sorry.
Oh, Thy Art is Murder.
Thy Art is Murder. Yeah, that's something I would have never listened to unless there were years of buildup of other metal. And Thy Art is Murder is a fucking awesome band.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think it came up in my Pandora, which is kind of an old sentence. But I just had different things in my Pandora catalog, and I can't really remember how it started. But eventually, they popped up, and I'm gonna look them up real quick to see.
If you saw in my reactions, I reacted to
Creature.
Art It's the Murder. I checked out Holy War, and then like a year later, I checked them out again with Puppet Master, and that was it for me.
Yeah,
Her
that
Puppet
that
Master
was
is
that's the
holy
one,
fuck.
dude. I've actually found a lot of metal because of your channel, and then that Puppet Master song starts, and you're like, they don't fuck around, do they? And I was like, nope, they sure don't.
No, they don't.
And then you had to like take a second to compose yourself afterwards because that song just gets you fucking pumped, man. And I was like, dude, this song is the shit. And then you're like, yeah, I gotta take a minute. And I was like, yeah, I understand.
I fell in love immediately, almost in that specific moment in that song. But by the end of it, I was like, deathcore is my shit right now. This is gonna be my shit because it encompasses so much that I came to love about music over the years. Again, like starting off with like punk and hardcore and thrash, and I kind of feel like those things are all mixed together in a song like Puppet Master, and then like the vocal just being like the cadence and the heaviness that it is, and the fucking just the rhythm of his vocals, dude. Just the way the song writing is, I fell immediately in love with that band. But then finding out that you could take that band and add like a symphonic or like blackened, like deep dark element to it, just like this whole other world opened up to me, dude. And like I feel like I don't know where to go from here, because when I check out like bands that are heavier than that, I feel like they're just heavy and loud for the sake of being heavy and loud. The song structures are kind of muddy, and just everyone's trying to do the most intricate thing that they possibly can. The bassist, the fucking guitarist is doing like crazy shit, and they got the gain turned all the way up. So it sounds like a mess of noise. That a band like that, when I would see bands like that in the scene that would show up to shows that I would go to, I'm just like, this is just a wall of noise. You're not making any sense. Let's go outside and smoke a joint until these guys are done, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So I kind of feel the same way when it comes to that to this day. I mean, like, I was just kind of like before this looking up, I wonder what like the heaviest, you might ask me what's like the heaviest thing, I guess, or whatever, that I've reacted to on the channel. And I think one band that I did have a fun time reacting to, but again, kind of feel that same way about, was
Infinite Annihilator.
No, it was Extermination Dismemberment.
Wow.
I
have
reacted
not heard
to,
of that band.
Yeah, I reacted to one of their songs, and it's exactly that. It's exactly just this wall of noise, like heavy noise just coming at you. You can't really decipher the vocals from the rest of the music. Like nothing really stands out. It's just like all in your face, which is fun for a reaction, you know, watching the video and everything. But then afterwards, I'm just like, I'm almost certain I said in that video that, is it for me? Probably not. I'm not going to listen to this every day, but that was fun as fuck. You know, so that is kind of my stance when it comes to that. The stuff that gets just beyond my taste for heaviness just doesn't end up becoming a reaction. You know, somebody asks me to check something out and I hit play and I start listening. I'm just like, this is going nowhere for me. And I'm not going to have anything to say about this. Then I just delete that shit and move on, kind of deal.
Yeah, you did do a reaction to an Insomnium song. I think it was off of One for Sorrow. No, it wasn't. It was from Shadows of the Dying Sun. I think you did a reaction.
Was it While She Sleeps?
While We Sleep. Yeah, you did a reaction to that one, and I think you even said in that video that, yeah, that's what you believe, that if it doesn't catch you like in the first, I don't even know if you said minute. I think you said like in the first 10 or so seconds. Like if the song doesn't pull me in the first 10 seconds, that usually is an indicator of whether I'm going to think it's good or not. And I was like, you know what? I kind of thought the same way. Like if I was looking for something new, I would pull something off of an album and give it like the first 30 seconds to a minute and be like, if it's good, if it's got my attention, what have you, then maybe I'll explore the rest of it. But that used to be my metric for a while. And
yeah, so, I don't know. Sometimes it'll be like a first 10 seconds, and I could be like, I know exactly what this band is. I've heard this band five or six times already. I'm going to move on to something else. Or it's like, okay, this is kind of interesting. And like you said, wait another 30 seconds to a minute to get into it. Then I'm just like, no, okay, this isn't really going anywhere. This, you know, just the samey riffs through the whole thing. And the only thing I'm going to have to say by the end of this, I can tell already, is what I didn't like about it. And a lot of people ask, why don't you put out more videos like that where you talk about what you didn't like in regards to those songs? You just like put those things out anyway. I was like, honestly, I make these things every day. I'm not like some other channels where they'll just like film like 5 day videos on a Saturday or something like that, and then just edit them throughout the week. I do one pretty much every single day. So like I've got enough energy in myself to, come up with something that if it's not hitting me right away, I'm going to quick move on to something else and see where that takes me. And then I end up finding really cool bands, and then I can introduce these bands to people who watch, like you guys said, like you've said, you found really cool bands through my channel. It's like, that's kind of like the way that process goes. If I find something that's at least I enjoyed it and I have something to say about it, or it was awesome, then it's more fun for me to edit it and put it out and be excited for people to see my video and to see this band, rather than shit all over a band and then like have them, like, it's copyright policy. So they're allowing me to use their music and video in my video. I can't monetize it, but they're allowing it to be out there. I can play their whole entire song in my video and basically ride the coattails of a band. But then by the end, I'm just like, well, this is shitty. You guys all suck. And then it's just like, well, then it's just a shitty promotion. Like, I put out that video of, when I was drunk one day and said the Slipknot's new song is fucking, and just the haters just exploded in the comments. You're fucking, it's like, nobody critiquing the, like, what I might not like about it. Is just personal attacking and shit like that. It's like, that's not what I want out of YouTube. I want to have a fun experience. I want this to be a fun hobby that I can do for as long as it continues to be fun. So, yeah. So the way I filter bands nowadays is like that. If I don't like it, then it doesn't become a video. And I don't usually respond to people when they ask me to do a band, even after I've gone to like check them out or whatever, and just like, it's it's kind of shitty. I'm not gonna go back into the comments and just be like, yeah, I checked out that band and they weren't that great. And then for the next 2 weeks, I keep getting people saying, check out this band, check out this band, check out this band. I'm just like, I'm not gonna respond to every single person and tell them I didn't like it and these are the reasons why.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing of you to do, because I remember listening to a review of the new Sum 41 CD that just came out recently, and a couple reviews, and these people they'd break it down, which is good, but they would say all the stuff I didn't like about it, and it kind of irked me, because I really loved that album. And okay, you didn't like it, but I find myself clicking on this review to know somebody else's opinion of it, but then getting irritated when they start talking about stuff I didn't like, and I'm like, well, why the fuck am I even watching this? Fuck that guy. I like this. I love this album.
Yeah, and from a creator standpoint, why would you waste your time with it? There was a very short time back in 2008, 2009 where I tried starting like a music blog, and 99% of it was like, hey, I listened to this album from Threat Signal. It's fucking great. Hey, I listened to The Absence. It's fucking great. I listened to this.
What about that Crash Test Dummies song?
Oh, shut the fuck up. Okay. I listened to this. Double Driver. It's fucking great. And then I think for whatever reason, one day I was like, you know what? I fucking hate Finger 11. And I fucking hate Theory of a Dead Man. I fucking hate some of this shit that they're playing on the radio. I don't even listen to the radio, but I know it's fucking out there because you can't escape FM radio. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to kind of try to listen to this Finger 11 CD, and I know I'm going to hate it, but we're going to see what happens. And I listened to it. I fucking hated it. So I wrote a quick little thing about how much I fucking hated it. And afterwards, I was like, why did I even bother doing that? It fucking sucks. And who's going to be like, who's going to want to read that? Who's going to want to see that, like you said, like in a video? Because either you're confirming their bias, they're just like, I fucking knew it sucked. This guy says it sucks, so there, I'm not alone. Or you're just going to stoke someone's anger as if they're Finger 11. Like I did this the other day on Facebook. Fallout 76, I think I like Fallout or Bethesda's page or whatever, and they posted an update talking about some patch they pushed to Fallout 76. I actually played it for about 45 minutes the other day. I was fucking bored. I played it, and I walked around. I leveled up once. I killed a couple giant ticks or whatever, and that was it. I listened to a couple audio logs. There were apparently other people in my map, in my world or whatever, but they were across the fucking map. I was never going to interact with them or play with them or against them or anything. So I'm fucking bored. So I see this on Facebook and I reply, hey, I played this for the first fucking time. And I was bored. And everybody that reacted to it, that commented back, had nothing to say regarding the game or anything regarding the game. It was all, that's funny because I was with your wife last night and she said that she was bored with you after 2 minutes or whatever. And all these personal, like, kind of like really shitty amateur attacks. And I'm just sitting there like, oh, this is exactly what I should have expected. Why did I even bother telling anybody. And then somebody else was like, well, if you found it so boring, why are you even here commenting or whatever? And I'm like, what the fuck is the point of a comment section, you dumb shit? It's for people like you to come out here and be like, what are you doing here commenting? I mean, as long as there's a text field you can put your thoughts into and then hit submit, why are you here doing that? What the fuck do you think? But why? Because
So, moral of the story is to lead a happy and fulfilling life. Just have nothing but good things to say.
I wish I could check a box on my Firefox that just hid all comment sections. If I want to see something, I want to see that thing. I don't want to see everybody else's fucking opinions on it. However, YouTube comment sections are usually pretty good. But that's because I watch YouTube videos that I want to watch. I don't get pulled into something like a news article with a misleading headline. I mean, there's plenty of clickbait on YouTube. I don't usually get pulled into shit like that. I usually watch the same dudes recreating NPC dialogue from Oblivion or Skyrim, and it's fucking hilarious, and the comments are almost just as funny. But I totally see your point. Like, why would anybody put themselves through listening to something that they, like, right away they know, I don't want to listen to this. It's like a fucking chore. Why would you choose what you want to do into work? So that was like the first and last time, and that blog didn't fucking last long. I guess I had other shit to do, but I did that, and I was like, yeah, I'm never doing that shit again. If I'm gonna listen to something, it's gonna be something I like. Oh, hey, Lamb of God put out a new CD. I'm gonna go listen to that because I'm probably gonna like it.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. 100% agree with that. And again, literally the only reason I put up that the Soul Way for the Slipknot thing was just to as a test. I was like, I know what's going to happen here. Let's just watch it happen and laugh my ass off. Because again, all personal attacks all the way through it. Yeah. It's like, well, you shouldn't fucking listen to metal. You're a fucking idiot. You live in your mom's fucking basement, shit like that. I'm like, my mom's basement is fucking 9 floors up. That's weird. But I don't respond to like any like hateful comments or anything like that. And for the most part, my comments tend to be very positive, if not just a request. So I don't always go through and read everything because it's literally just check out this band, check out this band, check out this band. But it is nice, definitely nice to see like how positive people can be, and that's what I always enjoyed about reaction videos, is getting a positive, good feel vibe about watching those videos. So I always thought I want every single one of my videos to be at least kind of enjoyable for the song itself specifically, if not incredible of a song that I've just checked out. And I want to put a lot of effort, into what I have to say, and do like creative things rather than just like blanket every single video with, hi, here's another song. Just sit there and stare for fucking 3.5 minutes. And then at the end be like, yeah, that was pretty good. Put money in my Patreon, please.
Yeah.
Like, no, this is a fun thing for me to do, to actually, when I started it off, and even to this day, is to see myself on YouTube. It's like, holy shit, I'm on YouTube. I remember like the first fucking video I had like 500 views or whatever. It was for, I think, like Assassin's Creed movie trailer. And I saw like 500 views. I was like, holy fuck, 500 people watched my video and someone commented on it. That's incredible. Yeah. So like just seeing that engagement, even though like how like I could go for like the really big name bands and just like fake a reaction to them, something that I didn't like, and just be like, oh yeah, that was great, and then just get the that roar of endorphins that people are searching for as they like the acceptance or whatever, and like check. It's like, oh, this is the first time I've ever heard "Unforgiven" by Metallica. That's not a lie. It's like, really? Seriously? I saw one guy do a fucking reaction to fucking "Unforgiven" by Metallica, and you can see him mouthing the words.
Nice.
I was like, I don't remember who the guy was. I'm not going to fucking call him out or whatever if I did. But it's like, really? I mean, like, that's the kind of level that you're going to here? But then I obviously let it go at that point because it doesn't really affect my life. And that's the thing, is like, people are these negative comments about the Slipknot thing. It's like, did I ruin the album for you? Do you not like it anymore? I mean, like, I didn't really think that fucking Soul Way First was a terrible song. I mean, it was pretty good for 2003, but like... I was just like, oh, I remember I heard this song, off of fucking Iowa fucking 15 years ago. It was pretty good. It was a commercial for some brand new show that was coming out. Good for them, They got fucking like #1 album or some shit like that for their new one, for like pop charts or some shit like that. It's like, good for them, dude. But that's just not the music I'm into anymore. Yeah. I'm not enjoying that. So I'm not going to put, like, even though I did a reaction to Unsainted, because I was like, I haven't heard these guys in 15 years. Let's see what they sound like. I gave my honest opinion. I was like, is it for me anymore? Not really. It was pretty good, but I'm not going to get into this. So like I would hate to just like just do the reaction and just sit there bored and then like have nothing to say at the end just for views. Because I know if I did a reaction to that video, it would have probably gotten a healthy amount of views. But it's not worth my time. The amount of time that I have, after work every day to sit down and make a video, it takes me like like 2 hours, if not more, for like a 9-minute fucking reaction video.
Yeah.
So I got 6 hours after work to to chill out, until I got to go to sleep and go to work the next night. So I want it to be worth my time. I want to be able to like not watch the reaction while I edit it so I can upload it and then watch it again myself. Watch myself react to it because I'm vain. Like, I don't know. I get enjoyment out of it. The second it becomes unenjoyable for me is like the second that I'm out.
Wow.
Yeah, that's something we've noticed. Well, me personally, since we're still a very young podcast, I'd say this is like our 5th or 6th episode.
I think 6.
But even just it does take time to edit, and there's not even any video footage. I'm just going to go edit the sound, but it takes a while, and you might as well make hay while the sun's shining. But at the same time, I don't really see the point in doing anything if it's not fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't really want to get on here and start talking negative about all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of stuff going on in the world right now that everybody's got an opinion about. But I personally think that everybody should have their own opinion, and they don't need other people to reaffirm that for them.
Mm-hmm. And they should probably formulate it themselves and not borrow it from someone else or like a meme or something. And it reminds me of Metal Gear Solid 2. I always want to cite that these days because nobody seems qualified for free will anymore because they're just regurgitating whatever opinion someone next to them said. And so for you to come out and be like, yeah, listen to the new Slipknot album or listen to this new song and whatever. And I mean, you kind of know it too. Like you stand up, YouTube's a big soapbox and you get up there and you're like, hey, I'm going to talk about Slipknot. And this huge throng of people just amasses in front of you. And you're just like, oh, shit. Okay, here we go. They're all expecting me to talk about Slipknot. It wasn't that great. And they're just like, no, how dare you? I'm Corey Taylor. I mean, that's my name. We have to share the same name, but I'm not the Corey Taylor, but my name's Corey. And my middle name's Tyler. So it's kind of, but like, that's my band, man. I don't know. Everybody's like that. Like, you don't like that movie? It's like, I'm sorry. Did you direct that movie? I saw The Dark Knight Rises in theaters 3 fucking times, and it got worse every time I saw it.
I think everybody could agree on that, though.
The first time I saw it, I thought it was fucking nuts. I thought it was awesome. And the more I watched it, I was like, this is a really bad movie.
I'm like, oh my God, here comes the back break. Here comes the back break. It's coming.
Yeah, I watched The Dark Knight, and I'm like, this movie's not that good either. It's sort of disjointed and a little incoherent. But you can't say that. That was the
The Dark Knight.
Oh my God! You get this guy being dealt with the point. You can't. No, you don't. No. That's all I got to say to that.
Dude, you're probably one of the only people who doesn't like The Dark Knight.
I mean, The Dark Knight was good, but it wasn't phenomenal, groundbreaking, or great.
Oh no!
Come on, man.
Why? Just because of the Joker? Just because of Heath Ledger?
No, not just because of the Joker. Because of all kinds of things. The score, the cinematography, the story was pretty intricate. For a fucking Batman movie.
So it was like Inception story-wise. It was so like confusing and intricate. It just automatically made it cool.
It was the whole... Okay, now you ask me, is it for the Joker? Kind of. But the scheme he came up with... Dude, when he taken down the commissioner and the judge and all those people at the same time, it seemed doable. As opposed to what Lex Luthor did in Batman vs. Superman. Now, you defend that movie, but you won't defend a more realistic movie like The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight.
I do defend BVS.
And I do too. It's a great movie.
And Galactic, you mentioned that about Justice League early on, not Justice League, Suicide Squad, how it was like a disjointed, like not connected mess or whatever. And yeah. That's because some studio head or somebody got involved, because that's exactly what happened to Batman vs. Superman, the theatrical version, which I saw and I still liked, but I was like, man, there's a lot missing here. And when they came out with the Ultimate Edition or whatever the fuck it was with the extra half an hour of footage, I was like, here it is. They gave us a skeleton with no connective tissue. And then with the Ultimate Edition, they're like, hey, yeah, here's the muscle, here's everything that binds it all together. We're going to give you a complete movie. And they didn't give us a complete movie because for whatever reason, Warner Brothers was like, nobody's going to want to see a 3-hour movie. Meanwhile, fucking Endgame, fucking Infinity War. Yeah, those movies hadn't come out yet, but I mean, they were getting close, like 2.5 hour long movies. And people were okay. People were okay with all the Lord of the Rings movies. People will watch a long movie if it's good. And they could have put a good movie out.
Well, most people, I kind of agree with their opinion, is that Marvel's been doing this since the early 2000s. So they've had their chance to have the individual stories to build up to Endgame and shit like that. I feel like DC's problem is, again, like a lot of people say, is they're trying to catch up too quickly, and they're not focusing on like individual stories. They're trying to go for like the giant scope each and every single time, which isn't leaving for very much time for storytelling. And sometimes they do have a bit of storytelling, but then it gets chopped out into like little bits of garbage. So instead of like going for like, I feel that DC is doing a phenomenal thing with their animated features, where they're focusing on like small individual stories and having incredible writing, and there doesn't seem to be really any like figureheads taking over these things. They're allowed to have their creative freedoms with them. DC should do something like that if they're going to go for live action. Go for like the small individual story. Suicide Squad should have been the Joker and Harley Quinn movie. It should have been a very small story. I mean, like the new Joker movie that's coming out feels like it might do something like that. But Suicide Squad and BVS and just all these movies are going for this just like massive scaled scope with absolutely no buildup. It's like they have no faith that the fan base is that wants it enough for them to do the slow burn, is to start later. So they're just going over top of themselves constantly, trying to impress everybody with these like massive spectacles, when just go for something simple, go for something dark. DC has always been dark. The villains have always been just so fucking dark and cool. Go like take that route. I mean, they did that a bit with the Nolan Batman. The only problem with those movies is Batman's suit looks fucking derpy. But like when he fucking gets like the head turning things, his neck is real small, but he's got like fucking like he's got his fucking cowl looks like he just got his wisdom teeth taken out. It's all puffy, and we'll let that shit go. We'll let that shit go. But like they had something there. Like there was a good amount of villains in those movies. Like you had like Two-Face and Joker, and then you had like a little bit of the politics, but it wasn't so much about that. It was about like the character progressions. Yeah, Dark Knight Rises was a little bit offsetting the direction I feel like those movies were taking. But the idea of that dark side of the DC comics is the direction that they should absolutely be going in, because like Marvel is going in the over the top, colorful, like Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor Ragnarok thing with lights and shit everywhere and cool CG, and that's fun, and that's the direction that they took. But trying to emulate that and trying to copy what they basically set the precedent for in the first place is the wrong direction to take, I think.
Yeah, no, I was about to say I had forgotten about the Nolan trilogy, because I was about to say that they started in the right direction with Man of Steel, but the Nolan trilogy was like its own thing. They started with the origin story, and then they told another thing, and then they told another thing that also kind of wrapped up everything, and then they did Man of Steel, and you would think like, okay, they're gonna do another Superman movie, or if they ultimately want to do Justice League, then they'll do Batman again, or they'll give it time because the Nolan movie is just wrapped up. So maybe they'll do Wonder Woman or Aquaman or Martian Manhunter, maybe, get weird with it. And they decided, you know what, we're just going to get straight to BVS. And I'm with you on that one. I think they didn't want to do the Marvel formula, but they wanted the Marvel payoff. They wanted the big Avengers movie right now. They want to do it right now. They didn't want 6 or 7 fucking movies in order to get there, because they wanted instant gratification. They wanted to go right then, right now. And that, I think that cost them. So yeah, they should have done Man of Steel and then Wonder Woman the way they did it, and then Aquaman the way they did it. And
Suicide Squad, not the way they did it.
No, not really the way they did it, especially with, freaking Hot Topic Joker I got some grape soda on ice and a bearskin rug waiting for you. It's like, who the fuck are you trying? What is that?
See, I couldn't even get through that because the Joker is my favorite character in all of fiction. And the thing that they did with the Leto version is they made him vain. And that's like
Almost
to me.
self-aware.
Well, yeah, and to me, that's the opposite of what the Joker is. There's no vanity with him. He's just, it's like everything he does is just because it's funny to him in a deranged kind of way.
Yeah, and I was really hoping that they would pull the Jason Todd angle or something. Like they hinted at that in BVS with Robin's costume up there, and you're just like, whoa, what the fuck happened? There was lore established. That was something that BVS kind of did right. There was like they're talking about being in Gotham for 20 years. You know, how many good guys are left in Gotham? How many stayed that way? And you're just like, dude, what the fuck happened in these 20 years? You know, and how was Clark Kent just now hearing about Superman for the first fucking time when Gotham City is right fucking there across the bay? How long have you been working at the Daily Planet? First off, how are you a journalist again? Where'd you get your degree? I don't get it. Anyway, that whole thing, there was some opportunity there to where they could be like, yeah, we know nobody likes this Joker. That's because it's not the original Joker. The original Joker's dead, and this is Jason Todd Joker, and he's supplanted that role because he's fucking just read a comic book and you'll understand why. But no, then they were like, no, that's the original Joker, and everybody's just like, oh, why?
Yeah, that's kind of the way that I was able to, I don't know, I guess justify sitting all the way through that movie, is to see more of that Joker, hoping to see more of it. Apparently he filmed a lot more than they actually showed in that movie, and I feel like if they had showed more of the Joker, it would have been nice to see more of his take on it, but it would have taken away from the movie having as many characters as there already were. He shouldn't even have been anywhere near this thing, if at all. Yeah, like I said, he should have had his own movie with Harley Quinn to show off this new Joker and this idea of it. Yes, take like people were speculating was the Jason Todd Joker, and that's why he's, again, like you said, a bit different. He's flashier. Yeah, he's got like somewhat of the same mentality, but he's really just emulating, kind of like Kylo Ren's emulating Darth Vader. Yeah. You know, he's like a wimpy, weird, cheesy version, you know. But I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that Joker. I didn't mind it as much, you know, like on like even a repeat watch. Like I think I said to you earlier, I watched it again today for whatever reason.
It was $1.
Grape soda and a bear rug. It was so disjointed and bad, and just like the cuts and everything. It's like, I know you just cut that joke in where it's not supposed to be. You shouldn't have said that to that person. You mixed and mushed up this fucking thing into a giant piece of garbage. But they should have like flushed out this Joker character in a movie for himself a whole lot more, and I think people would have ended up liking him more. I feel like DC in my brain, I feel like the DC like higher ups are like, no, we're DC. We know what people want from these comics. We know the history and everything, and we'll do it the way we want to do it, or whatever they're thinking in that regard. Instead of like going like outside of their company, like get writers and directors that like have a passion for this fucking thing. Like you know, like with Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool. You know, people that want.
There's never been a more perfect casting ever for anything.
Right? Exactly. Other than fucking RDJ for fucking Iron Man, but
and I mean,
people need to love it. Right. There has to be like a passion. There has to be a love behind this thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like I don't know. I've seen some other stuff that it feels like that was the direction that they took. They were allowed to like, you know, let some like creativity, you know, slide, I guess. Again, like I said, DC animated for me is just killing it. Almost everything they put out, I absolutely. So I don't know. Well, hopefully they go in a different direction. I hope that the new Joker movie is kind of like a jump off for maybe a new phase of DC movies.
Yeah, and I think that's something that they said they were going to do. And I've heard the defense also that they never coined DC Cinematic Universe, that it was something that was sort of written up by a journalist or whatever, and everybody latched onto it. And I'm like, well, you guys didn't do a very good job of shooting that down. Nobody, as far as I knew, ever came out and was like, no, we're not trying to do what Marvel did. We're not trying to make a bunch of movies that are interconnected, even though we are making a bunch of movies that are interconnected because we're using the same actors and are playing the same characters and we're carrying over storylines from previous movies into the current movies that we're making. But they're not all connected. They're all their own things. But now that that's over with, and it's obviously didn't really work out that well, now they're doing. I've been latched on the word Gaiden, not because I've been playing Ninja Gaiden. I mean, yeah, it has, but I follow a lot of Dragon Ball Z guys, like YouTube personalities on Twitter, and all these different guys like have all these different ideas and how they could have redone this arc or this story. And I'm like, well, then somebody needs to come out and do like a Dragon Ball Gaiden, like a side story, like take something that happened in the main canon and then make your own interpretation of it. Because Gaiden, I think, is Japanese for story or standalone story. So I think that's the direction that they're going in now. This Joker movie has no connection, from what I understand, with any other DC movie that's come out. And the new Batman movie that's supposed to come out in 2021, I think it's supposed to be the same. It's supposed to be like its own thing. And the only movie that's coming out here soon that's going to have any connection is Wonder Woman 2. You know, Wonder Woman 84 or whatever it's going to be called. And I think that's good, because at the end of the day, do you want like this overarching like Batman trilogy again, or do you want a few different takes on Batman? I don't know.
That's what I think would be incredibly interesting. Like, again, like I said, for DC to do individual stories, maybe even just like recreating stories from like the comic past. You know, like they could have different actors play the different characters each time. You know, have a different guy play Batman each time because it's a different Batman. Like there was the most recent DC animated that I bought was Batman Gotham by
Gaslight. Yeah, I have not watched that one yet.
Oh, it's like Victorian fucking London style Batman.
It's Jack the Ripper is the villain, right?
Yeah, it's such a phenomenally cool fucking story that I feel like could only be done in that way, and like in the animated spectrum, I guess, just because there's no way that the higher ups would ever like toss a budget to like a gamble of something like that, where it's just like something that could just be, you know, getting churned in like a factory somewhere, you know, fucking for like a year or so and just like tossed out, and they could just make some money off of that instead of having to put all like the, you know, the money and the presence behind that for marketing and everything in order to come out with something. Like, it's a big gamble, you know, and they don't want to take that gamble. And that's, I think, the biggest problem that they have.
You know, with these animated movies too, you can tell that the people that make these movies have such a huge love for what they're doing. You can feel it. Like, I remember watching a clip from Under the Red Hood the other day when him and Jason go at it at the end of the movie. And that scene is just so well animated, and the acting is so good. There's such an emotional undertone in that scene, and you can feel it. And I never felt any of that with the quote DCEU.
Yeah. Oh, that was an awesome fucking movie, man. Fucking Batman's chasing the Red Hood and fucking like grabs his ankle with the grapple. But then he turns and he cuts it in midair.
Oh, it's
Batman's
so good.
Like, what the fuck just happened? You know, like,
but then,
it's such a cool fucking moment.
But then towards the end of that fight, you could tell Batman's like, all right, I'm done playing with you. And he just kicks the shit out of Jason. They're supposed to be even. They're supposed to be pretty much even the whole movie. But nah, nobody fucks with Batman.
I mean, I even just watched Batman versus Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
And I thought
it was pretty good.
I thought it was going to be awful. I enjoyed myself. I thought it was, oh my God, it was so funny. And Batman eats pizza. It's like, I mean, you could never do that, but they had like such a creative take on that world. Like, why not go further into that? Start making some more like really awesome, like they do have like DC series that I don't really watch because it's mostly for kids, but the movies are like, sometimes they're like rated R, they're swearing and shit.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
there's blood and stuff like that. So it's like, this is the kind of fucking DC that we need to have. Absolutely.
And you know, they're doing a lot of this recurring stuff. Like, they have the same animators, they have the same guys doing the voices. I remember the first DC animated film that was like Justice League War, and they had Jason O'Mara playing Batman, and I first didn't like him. But he's in all of these now, like Batman versus Robin and Son of Batman, all that. It's always the same voice actors, and they're creating a really nice, cohesive continuity to all these stories. And it's all holding up because they can be standalone, but you can also tell that they're in sequence. And these original stories weren't really tied together, but the movies are tying them together in a really nice little subtle way.
Yeah, honestly, I'll tell you, it's just what popped into my head. What really fucking blew my mind was watching that Batman versus Ninja Turtles. Got to the end, and I was like, who's doing the voices on this? Let's go check out the cast. And my all-time, next to fucking Mark Hamill, favorite fucking voice actor, not only played the Joker but also Batman in that whole thing, was Troy Baker.
Oh
Troy
yeah,
Baker
I heard
is
about that.
the man.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, like he was the one who got me even like started on doing a Joker voice. I saw a video of him reciting something from The Killing Joke on like it was some kind of Comic-Con or something like that, and I was obsessed. I was like like practicing like almost every day, like going just like walking somewhere or whatever. I'm just like muttering shit to myself, people looking at me all weird and shit. But I was obsessed with it. I was like, he sounds just like Mark Hamill. I wonder if I could do that, and just gave it a shot, So like. Yeah, I love that interesting take and like different people be like playing these different characters and seeing different takes on these characters, which is if they did something like that, it would be so incredibly awesome. I forget which animated one it was from DC, but it was one where it was basically what it would happen if Superman didn't land in Kansas, if he landed in Russia.
Oh, Red Sun.
The Red Sun, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that's fantastic. That would be such an like even like the Red Hood story. Do that as a live action movie. That would be so fucking incredibly awesome and dark, and just like there's so many directions that something like that could take. I don't just cannot fathom or understand at all why people aren't thinking about this.
They can make it a period piece too and tie it into like the Cold War and everything. And instead of doing like, it's 2020, they could go back and because I think people like that. I think people like movies that I don't know. There was like a what about Charm? I don't know. There's something about like the first Captain America movie because it was all back in the freaking 1930s and 40s, and then same thing with Wonder Woman because it was during World War One. I don't know. I think it just adds a little element to it. So I think they could probably nail that. And I think if I remember it, they tied Red Sun into like some overarching thing where it involved like Lex Luthor and. I don't know if it was time travel or like a parallel dimension or a parallel universe or something. There's something real weird. I can't remember exactly what they did with it, but it was different. And I highly doubt you would see that in like a movie with people. Like they would actually do something that kind of off the wall. The closest I can think of is Interstellar, another Nolan movie, just because of how it was just like, wow, that was something. You talk about space and you talk about wormholes, and now you're talking about this extra dimensional construct, and you're watching Matthew McConaughey floating around. You're like, what the fuck is going on? And it's like that's the one person you would expect something that kind of niche and experimental product from. So I'd be surprised to see anybody take on something like Red Sun or
Like
they already tried doing The Dark Knight Returns.
I feel like they could, even just like thinking now is another interesting idea. Me personally, is they could be doing like miniseries. Like they've got like Titans. I loved that. I don't know if you
that
guys
show
saw
is.
that.
I started it and I need to finish it because that show is the shit.
It's like it's violent, it's dark, it's cool. So if they even just like even on like on the small screen scale like that, don't go for the fucking big screen. If you don't feel like you can catch up with that, go for the small screen.
Yeah.
Go for like the Netflix and shit like that. Because Titans looks awesome. They just fucking revealed the costume for Deathstroke for the next season, by the way, and he looks amazing.
Dude, that
Fucking
first
amazing.
fight with Robin where he took on all those gangbangers, and like if you were to be a vigilante that could beat the shit out of all these people, it would be bloody and dirty, just like that. I think, and they're bringing on like this whole. I don't know. Robin's really like focused on being a violent asshole, which is kind of cool. I like that about him.
Yeah, you haven't gotten too far into it, so I don't know if I could like spoil something for you. You might not have seen.
I know. I need to get back into it. I'm only like maybe 2 or 3 episodes in.
Oh,
I really like
dude.
I like what they're doing with Raven too, because I mean they got all these, and I remember seeing a promo for Starfire, thinking, wait a minute, they made Starfire look like that, but once you see her in the show, she's pretty awesome too.
Yeah, that shit grows on you. I didn't like it at first either. The first episode, the pilot, I wasn't biggest fan of. Like Raven's mother, the actress was just like disjointed. But like once you get like into like the second and third episodes, it's just like, and the directions, that the story takes are just unbelievable. Like I mean, even with Gotham, the series Gotham, I don't know how much into that you might be.
I honestly could
fucking
not get into
loved it.
Gotham.
My wife and I love Gotham.
I couldn't get into it at first either, and I put it off for like a year and a half, and then I got back in, and they were like 4 seasons in or something like that, and I just started binging it. And like at first, I was like, Gordon, I don't like him. He's just this prissy guy from fucking that what do you call the Orange fucking Hills show or whatever the hell you call it. But it ended up growing on me, and just the take that they had on these, like the dark take they had on the villains, just the aesthetic of the show, like the future past blend and everything, and then just like the Joker stuff, and oh my god,
Yeah.
just never really call him the Joker, you know. But
Yeah, they never
just-
do. But
it was just an interesting take on that idea, you know. So just if they went in that direction, I think that they could do incredibly well.
Yeah,
I love new takes on these characters.
That show got batshit crazy after a minute. Like that first season seemed kind of grounded. They broke out a little bit because I think that was the same season where they had Crane and the Scarecrow first kind of debut, and they were like just reaching out just a little bit, but they weren't trying to get too nutty with it. They made it seem like it was Law and Order, but in Gotham. You know, just like the sort of gang war politics between the GCPD and Fish Mooney and Penguin, all this other shit, the different crime lords. But then they were like, you know what? Let's just fucking take every DC villain that we can think of and throw it against the wall, and whoever sticks, we just put them in there somewhere. And they did pretty well. I really do like their takes on Joker, the Valeska brothers, how they did that. That was, I mean, I think that was like the one thing everybody united on. Like, this kid is fucking good. He is fucking creepy. And he's just good at he just nailed it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, that's literally what got me back into the show, was watching some people's reactions to the sort of quote unquote reveal of the Jerome character or whatever, when he's like finally snapped in front of Gordon. So I jumped in. I skipped season 2. I jumped right into season 3 and started watching from there. And I feel like it took off for me. They got away from the whole like Fish Mooney thing.
Yeah.
I mean, she peppers in there, but just like the villains and everything, just after that, dude, it was almost like fucking like seasons of Dexter, where they would have like the overarching story of like the main, you know, guy that they're trying to catch, but then like the intricate, you know, stories between all the different characters, with the Riddler and the Penguin, just everyone, just their evolution, their character evolutions are just incredible. Like Catwoman, and the ending, I can't even.
You convinced me. I'll have to start watching it again.
Just start at season 3. You're not missing much.
Hey, You know what, Joseph? It's really not that hard. Somebody tells me a show's good, and I say, okay, I will watch it.
Yeah, I tried. I got to Game of Thrones episode 3, and I was like, I'm good.
I gave up on that show too. I gave up on Game of Thrones, and I gave up on it for like 3 years, and then again jumped in. They were in the middle of like season 5 or 6. And I binged the fuck out of all of it. That's a show that you absolutely have to watch, like, one after the other. Because I tried watching week to week, and I was like, there's too many characters. I'm not going to remember anybody. But if you're watching it in, like, chunks, it's like, oh, okay, I get it. I get what the hype is now from that show.
Yeah. So same with Breaking Bad. He won't watch Breaking Bad either.
Oh.
Breaking Bad is the best show ever made.
I think I can agree with that.
I would, and I haven't even seen Gotham, and I would say Breaking Bad is way better than Gotham. Yeah, maybe that's a bold statement, but
that's another show. That's a problem for me. It's like people get like the hype train of these shows, and I'll like, is it okay to like whatever? I'll try and watch it, maybe not. Breaking Bad, people talked about for like a year, and I didn't really get into it. And then I watched the first like pilot episode, and fucking Buddy out in his underwear outside the RV, that whole opening thing, I was like, I am in. This is fucking awesome.
This is totally unrelated, but Galactic, you just used the word a boot, and I love it.
I've been having some beers, man, so it comes
out. That's okay.
It comes out. Honestly, I never had the fucking accent until I moved to the city I'm in now, because I was in like a bigger city. People didn't talk like that, but here they come from like little towns and stuff, so you've been living with them for like 10 years. Start to pick it up, eh?
I've heard people tell me I have an accent, but I live in Ohio, and I don't know what kind of accent Ohio people have.
Yeah, right.
You can pick up on some like American words, like Canadian will say, like I've been somewhere, but like Americans say I've been somewhere.
Yeah,
we had a guy from Britain on here not too long back, and he and I would reference a movie called Snatch all the time, and there was a line about blagging, like robbing, but and that's something we always make fun of. But it turns out that blag is actually a word that they use all the time over there.
The line in the movie, he goes, one guy hears their dude say something about blagged. He's like blagged, robbed, and that's exactly what he said. Because when he said blagged, we were like, blagged, robbed, and he was like, yeah. We were just like, oh my god, that was like word for word from the movie. And then he said taking the piss, and we both fucking lost it. We were just like, oh my god. It was like meeting your heroes. Because you're like, oh, I heard that line in the movie, and somebody for real actually said it in a sentence, and they weren't being
actually a real thing.
Yeah, they weren't just being friggin' cute about it. It's just great.
I hear a lot of that from watching. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Rooster Teeth.
Yeah, I used to watch the shit out of Red vs. Blue up until like season 27 or whatever the fuck.
That's kind of like my like main group of channels, like their Achievement Hunter and stuff like that. They do their podcast. They got one guy Gavin on there, so I hear those Britishisms all the fucking time, and they end up like I watch so much of the shit that it ends up being stuff that I say in my life.
They that same, I think the Rooster Teeth channel, I think they also had Rage Quit. Like that was like a series. They had a guy, and that was all he did. And oh my god, Lucas, you think I rage quit bad? This fucking dude, he would lose. He oh my god, he makes me look like I have some sort of cosmic zen. This dude would get so fucking pissed.
He's still almost like occasionally an episode comes out of that. Still, they don't really do it much anymore. But it's so forced now. Like that's his character. His character, like in like Achievement Hunter and everything, is being that guy who's like loud, fucking from Jersey and shit. And but yeah, if you see it now, it's like okay, this is what people are expecting from me. So I'll play it up and do the thing.
That's not fun because when I watch a lot of
Markiplier, and I feel like he's forcing it sometimes, but at the same time, I kind of feel like he's not. Like there was one he uploaded about this game called Pogo Stuck, and I think he's actually legitimately that angry.
Yeah, he's losing his fucking shit, and you're like, no, he's not faking.
Like I'm worried about his mental health, to be honest. I really think he is gonna like have heart problems or something. Yeah, but that makes for a good YouTube channel.
Well, when he gets like one of those games going, one that he like does continuously over and over and over again, that tends to happen. I watched another React channel. They did a reaction for their fucking Patreon of 19 minutes. That's 19 minutes that somebody cut together of Markiplier raging out to that game specifically, the one with you're in a barrel and there's the fucking
getting
the hammer
over
or whatever.
Yes.
And he's just God fucking damn fucking throwing chairs and shit like that. I don't watch him so much anymore because, like you said, it kind of feels to me a lot of his videos are forced. I really liked the earlier stuff that he did, like Dead Space, like full plays and shit like that. I'll still go back and watch those occasionally because I liked it back then. But nowadays, it's like one out of every like 10 videos of his, I actually end up sitting through more than a minute of. Because I'm just like, oh, dude. And then like the next day he's crying about something. And I'm like, oh.
He did a playthrough of these two games. It's called Faith and Faith Chapter 2.
I've been meaning to watch those.
Oh my god, the games are really good. And when he's playing them, I don't get that I don't get the disingenuous shtick or whatever from him. I think he's just like, hello, demon, because he's walking through this house and it's like these Nintendo graphics. But whoever made this game was just, they knew what they were doing. It was just real good. You don't have to have a game with like 4K textures or anything. You can have just this sort of 8-bit, 16-bit looking thing. And the character that you're playing as is kind of like a disjointed rectangle. But you can still nail atmosphere and storytelling. And you can make a good, scary game. And those two games are freaking nuts. Lucas, I highly suggest you watch them. Not for his reactions, because that's another thing too. I don't really watch his stuff for his reactions so much as I'm just watching the games that he's playing because I don't think I'll ever get the chance to play them.
Well, yeah, and that's another cool thing too, because these YouTubers expose you to new things. Right?
Yeah, dude, honestly, like I don't play nearly as many games as I used to now that like Let's Plays become such a popular thing that I can just go usually and watch one of my favorite Let's Players play the fucking game, which is essentially a reaction video to a game, which is why I've been trying to do a little bit of gaming here and there on my channel. But it's funny that like even mentioning Markiplier is that when I've noticed that when by the time I'm done like recording like a Let's Play or something like that, I'm like, dude, I'm Markipliering the hell out of this right now. Just like I did what was it called Layers of Fear 2 was the most recent game, and I like subconsciously, because I'd watched so much of him for so many years, I was like emulating stuff that he was saying. Like something would show up and I'd be like, like I share his hatred of mannequins, so that was the thing too. But yeah.
Oh my god! If you hate mannequins, there's a movie you need to watch called Maniac with Elijah Wood.
Maniac?
Yeah, dude, that movie's fucking crazy.
Like mannequins that move when you're not looking and shit?
No, like mannequins that he collects and like takes pictures of and stuff, and he murders women and takes their hair and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, go figure. That guy. I mean, he's doing some weird stuff.
Well, it's a POV movie too, so it's all. The only time you really know it's him is when he looks in a mirror for like half a second one time.
That's fucked up. I never even heard of that before.
Oh man, it's such a cool movie. It's messed up too.
I think that should become a fucking a prominent genre too, is the first person thing like that hardcore Henry movie.
That movie was absolutely crazy.
It was just it's nonstop ride, nonstop action. It's just dumb fun, but I thought it was just like an interesting way to take that first person perspective away from just somebody holding a handy cam and getting scared by sticks in the dark, you know?
Yeah, and like you could feel all the impacts and stuff in that movie too. I don't know how the hell they filmed that thing.